Here, and today I'm going to start a playlist for a concepts business application programming interface. We just simply call BAPI, or we call it as APIs. So the idea is we're trying to understand how it designed from the product level, so why it got designed, and slowly we are going to create custom BAPI to understand better the technical aspects of that particular design. Okay, so let's get into the slide and we'll see one by one. So as a Babber, we have created many, or we have used, okay, created also BAPIs for the business need. Mostly we used many things inside the product, inside the SAP in your program, that helps you to create a document, change document, or get the details from the existing document. Could be anything, sales, PO, finance level, whatever it is. So from the product level, we are trying to understand why it get designed, or how they are achieving some business needs from this particular uh, concept, BAPI concept. So as we aware, everyone aware, so the lower layer of BAPI is a function module. So at the end of the design, whatever it is, we need to write a code, could be a select, loop, or read, whatever it is, we need a place to write it. So in this BAPI, the last layer would be a function model. So function model, it just plays a role to achieve the BAPI concept. So over the function module, we need another layer called remote enable function module. So you have to select the option button for the function module as remote enabled one. Okay, so then only you are able to achieve that in your BAPI. So you're able to create a BAPI only the remote enable function module. Okay. So now we're trying to understand from the product level. So why it got designed from the product. So if you see nowadays, every client has different systems to maintain their business data. So every day the communication is happening between those systems. Could be SAP and non-SAP system. So SAP has a lot of ways or mediums to give a handshake between non-SAP and SAP system. One of that medium is BAPI. Okay, so one level, I can say one level ahead. BAPI is normally the last layer of the design. So the basic one is business object. So at the product level, they design a concept called business object. In the business object, one of the place we have a option to maintain the BAPI. We'll see a little more about that. Okay, so here we understand the first layer of this concept is business object. So the product is designed a business object to make a communication between non-SAP to SAP system. So the way it designed is, there is a business need, set of transaction to be happened for a particular business need. Example, if you take a sales, so they may want to create a sales order, they want to change it, or they want to display the details of the sales order. Very basic needs of the particular document. It could be create, change, and display. So for that, they collect all the possible ways of business needs. It's not only three things. They have a lot of others also, right? So I want a company code information. So I want a plan information. So many things related to that business scenario. It's coming under the sales. So they collect all kind of different business scenarios and they make as a methods. Okay. So the top layer is business objects. So inside they are trying to create a methods. So which method do you like? You want to create, or you want to change, or you want to display? So very basic things. So one business object is collecting the relevant business scenarios as methods, and technically inside a method we have a BAPI. So BAPI is coming in the very last layer, not the first layer. First layer is always business object. So that way the product is designed. So I have a business object. So if you want to achieve anything inside my product, use the relevant business object and come to the exact method what you need. So technically it's method, or I can say business scenarios. Okay, technically it's a method, which method you want, just use it. Okay, so internally we design in a different way, you don't worry about it. So outside of SAP or the application or the systems needs what is a business object and what is a method to be achieved, excuse me, for our need. So only that needs to be aware from the non-SAP system. So that way is get designed in the product level, SAP product level. Okay. So now we are going to understand that design, how it's got designed. Okay. Then it's very interesting or very easy to understand the BAPI. Okay. So BAPI is always in the last layer. So now you need to understand this like BAPI, the hierarchy, what are the transactions we used, and structure of the BAPI, everything we are going to see in this particular video. So the first thing is we just simply call this BU or business object repository. So that is the topmost layer of this particular design, and inside it you're going to create a business object type. So we are going to start the creation of business object type. Now let's understand from the use by using a standard BAPI how it's get designed. Okay, so they have a business object type, and inside the business object type, they have other areas where interfaces, key fields, attributes, methods, and events. So in this, the BAPI comes here. Okay. So out of this layers, business object type, then methods, and then BAPI. So from outside of SAP, they want to aware what is the business object for my business need, and in that, what are the methods are given from SAP side, and which method is relevant for me to achieve my business need. Only that needs to be uh, find from the non-SAP system, or normally we have to give this is a business object and this is the method for you. You can use it for your own business requirement. So this is actually for the technical area. So like non-SAP people no need to understand what method is connected with which BAPI. So even they don't the terminology called BAPI also. So they just use business object and methods. Okay, quite you might be understand the difference between RFC and BAPI is normally they say RFC is a direct call, BAPI is a no direct call is required. This is the meaning of it. I have already explained the difference in a different video. So the idea is you don't want to call you in the sense the people who want to achieve some business scenario, no need to call the BAPI directly. So no direct call is required. They need only business object name and the method name, everything will be in place. Okay, system is gone. Okay, fine. Okay, so now so BAPI design. So how is get designed? So we'll go little down to understand how the BAPIs get designed in that. So one business object can have n number of methods. Every method is going to associated with one BAPI. Okay. And an example, you can say bus 2012, where normally business objects start with BUS, simply called as bus. So a lot of business objects are available. It satisfies different business scenarios. So product SAP is creating a lot of business objects depends on the need in the market, and followed by some numbers they used to give. So 001, 002. If you take 001, 002 and all, it's like very old business objects. Sometimes that may obsolete also. So they just come with a different version number for it. Even you can see for a purchase order, you might find older business object and the current business object also. So this is belongs to a purchase order business scenario, not purchase order. I can say purchase business scenario. So bus 2012, and I believe bus 001 or 002 is also for the purchase order, but now it's again sorry, it's not purchase order, it's for a purchase business needs, and that is absolute now. I will show you that at the transaction level. So under the business object, you have a method called create. Normally the method names they give very simple: create, change, get, create from data, like that, and creates, and it's mapped with a BAPI called BAPI create. It's not an actual BAPI, just a reference. It could be a BAPI PO create or be a BAPI PO create one, like that. And then change is another method, and that is also going to be associated with one BAPI. So this is the basic design, how the BAPI is connected with the method and how the method is connected with the business object. Okay, and today we are going to see the design of it. We are not to create much today, and for that we need two different transactions. SE84 is a transaction where you can explore the business objects and their properties, and then BAPI is again another transaction to explore the BAPI little more technically. So SE84 is mostly top level of your business objects, and BAPI is especially for the BAPI function model to understand how it's structured and what kind of values to be passed, what kind of returns we can get. So those things we are going to explore in the BAPI transactions. Okay, and what else? Yeah, no direct call. I believe you might understand what is the meaning of no direct call for BAPI. So no need to do a direct call for BAPI, just business objects, and the relevant method is NF. Okay. So hope you might have some idea about this business objects now. So we'll try to understand more about this business objects in following videos. Okay, this is about like how to call a BAPI. Very simple. How to call a function module. Call function and the function module name. Same way you have to go to the pattern, enter the BAPI name. It will just display how the function module is displayed, because at the end it's a function module. It's more not more than over the function module we applied some layer, remote enable function module, and we applied another layer called BAPI. Okay, so in basic it's a function module. So it depends on the return, we have to decide commit or rollback. Normally it's a very basic one to understand. BAPI is just create a document and it's not directly affects or updated in your database. It's always in the buffer, I can say, and that needs to be updated using a additional BAPIs. It's nothing but BAPI transaction commit. Normally we can say commit work needs to update the database, but here that we have a BAPI also is BAPI transaction commit. So if you are satisfied with the returns, that's what I mentioned here. A return is going to be, return is a parameter, one of the parameters mentioned in your function module. So this returns values or statements to decide whether you want to allow the system to create this particular order in the system or you want to roll back it. So sometimes what happens, it assigned a value, you know about number range, right? It assigned a name or number for a sales order, but sometimes what happens, we get a return with some faulty items detail. So based on that, business says, no, I don't want this sales order to be created, faulty sales order to be created in the system, so better avoid it. So if that is the case, you have to roll back the whatever happened using the BAPI. So rollback means yes, the numbers are getting assigned from the number range, but it's not allow to create it in the database. Okay. If you say returns is perfect, yes, this document to be created in the SAP system, then we are going to use the BAPI called BAPI transaction commit. So that is the two BAPIs which normally we use to decide yes, based on the return messages needs to be created or not. Okay. Okay, that's it. We'll get into the system and go through that two transaction to understand better about the business objects design. To just check some business objects. So the BAPI is going to be used inside your SAP. You don't worry about the business objects, but it's always good to understand the basic design of the object which normally we use. Okay, it might helpful in somewhere else. So the BAPI, the first layer is always business objects. So I'm going to here business object. It's AC84 transaction. There are few options to find the exact business object, and you have object types. So I'll go with object types. Excuse me. So as I mentioned, business object types start with bus. So you can say bus, start, execute. So you'll get almost all the business object types. So here you can see for process order bus 1 and 2 is for company code business area, because these business objects types are designed based on the needs from the non-SAP system. So the people or the business needs to understand what are the company codes available in SAP. So they need some medium to communicate. So from the product level, they design the business types for most of the business objects. It's ongoing process. It's same like what you can say, programs how they design depends on the need they create a program. Sometimes it needs to be updated with some other version. The same way the business types also works here. Okay, so controlling area, shipping point, even a small thing, not only for the document level, like document level instance only for sales order, purchase order, not like that. Even the small things also for a plant. So non-SAP system wants to understand about the plant, so they create a business objects. Okay, business object type. Work center, cost center, company, many things are available. So let's take the first one, process order. Double click, it will take you to the page where you can understand more about it. And very basic, every business type needs a program. So why I'm explaining this is, while creating a business object, custom business object, we need that. Okay, we need a standard program, don't worry about it. So this program is a platform where it's going to create a program for the business object. Okay, but if you call, if you trigger, something needs to be done, right? I can say a support program. So if you click, it will take you to the program, and a lot of codings over there. You don't worry about it. So these are the codings which is available there. You're not able to see the program name here, but this is the program. Okay, so program is for your business object. So it includes a lot of codings. Normally we don't get into that level to understand anything over here. Okay, but this is just for your reference. And you have a parameters. So parameters you have to create, sorry, you have to keep some, you have to choose some BAPIs first to understand what are the parameters for that. And same thing you have the exceptions. So is it covered? Okay, yeah, it's covered. The position the cursor on the object, and if you click exception, so that's also is asking, please, like you have to select some BAPI, then it shows what are the parameters relevant for that. Okay, so these are very basic. And here this is the type which we have chosen, interface, and it has the interfaces. So we'll see these things a little quite later. And we have a key fields of this business type. So they mentioned just an order number is a key field, purchase order number, I believe it's a process order, right? And then object type, so it's very less. And these are the place where we need to understand our BAPI level. So here if it comes down, these are the different methods of the business object. So do you want to close the order? Do you want to just check the material availability of the order? So these are the methods. Normally we have, the non-SAP people, they're going to see these things. So these are the methods whether it's required for our business need. Okay, and these are the technical aspects. So these tick marks are nothing but these methods are released already. And I think I couldn't find any red color here. Yeah, so nothing over there. And if you see this, there is a green icon and there is a hand tool. This takes you to the BAPI, meaning this method is associated with the BAPI. If it comes down, few methods are not associated with BAPI. So in the business object, it's not like every method should be associated with the BAPI. Okay, so that is one of the option you can, meaning if you select the method, if the people who want to achieve this method in the backend, that can be achieved through BAPI or that can be achieved through a transaction also. It depends how it designed. Okay, so it's not always the method is associated with the BAPI. Let's see how it's associated with BAPI and how it not. If you click anything, so check material availability, just click, it takes you to the BAPI directly. If you click the green icon, okay, so this is the BAPI product order, check material availability. Okay, so if you go to the attributes, you can see, yes, this also released. So released plays a major role in the business objects. So the component level also is released, and the top layer, the method also to be released. Okay, so two different release to be happen in place. So go back, and if you double click the method instead of clicking this, if you double click this method, little technical information you're able to see. So they mentioned is a synchronous, and result type is okay, nothing maintained here. And go to ABAP, you're able to see this is the ABA function. Okay, so I mentioned it's not only API function. Sometimes it may be a direct transaction, sometimes it's a report or other whatever it is. So in a backend, we can able to achieve this using these options, and one of the options is BAPI. Okay, and if you comes down where the BAPI is not mapped with the object, so there is no green over here. Just let me go to create object. So it's a dialog. Okay, it's not a BAPI. So if it comes to a BAP, nothing over there. So there is no BAPI selected. Okay, so these are different options is mapped with the method to fulfill this particular business need. Okay, and if you go and see the BAPI transaction now, sometimes you're able to see red mark over here. Let me check for the other business objects. Let's see this. So those are absolutes. If you see the stop sign, yeah, this is. So even here, get internal number is a method, and there is some assignment happened. So you don't get a hand tool, but if you double click, so here you're able to see what is a BAPI associated with this. So still you're able to use it, but if you see in the BAPI transaction, and they mention very clearly this BAPI is absolute. Okay, so attributes, even though it's released in 97, let's see how this BAPI is look like in BAPI transactions. Okay, but the red icon is especially to avoid or try to use it, and you might have an alternative for this also. Okay. And 1 second. I forgot the previous version of the BAPI business object name, because it has a difference. Okay, let me find out the sales. Give me a minute. Okay, it's 2012. Let me try. Okay. So here, yeah, this is the one. If you see, if you want to create from data, yes, but it's absolute, create purchase order. Then they came with an updated method called create from data one. Yes, here you have a BAPI. So here also you have a BAPI. So if you go inside and click ABAP, you're able to see BAPI PO create. And same thing if you go create data one and click this icon. Okay, 1 second. You have BAPI PO create one. Okay, so that's a green one. Just double click, you're able to see. So this is a way they're trying to absolute some BAPIs, depends on the business need, and they just come with a new BAPI name as well as the method. Okay, so now let's see few things in a BAPI transaction slash row BAPI. Little more technical about it. Okay, see, it takes some time. Okay, so here it is. Whether you can able to find based on the applications or based on the alphabetical order also. So if you go to the hierarchy and try to find the BAPI for PO create, and here you're able to see the document saying documentation about the BAPI and the tools which used, some details, the basic information about the BAPI, what is the business object of the BAPI. So this is, we are starting from the last layer of the BAPI. So here you have a BAPI, you try to understand what is the business object of the BAPI, and some documentation about the BAPI parameters and everything. Okay, and finally it's a function module. So you know how it designed, you have import, export, changing, and tables, source code, exceptions, and everything, and it's a remote enabled, so everything should be a pass by value concept. All the parameters should be a pass by value. So I'm going with hierarchy now. Let's see, it takes some time. Yeah, got it. Now go here. Okay, materials management. So mostly functional. They're pretty good with this. Material management. I need something from BAPI. Sorry, from purchasing perspective. So purchase order, and you have an option here, purchase order. Here you have a create from data, create data one. Excuse me. So create from data, they mention the BAPI PO create, and the business object is purchase order, and the method, they mention the method name is create from data. So it's just coming down, the status is released, but they mention clearly this method is absolute as of release 700. They're not saying BAPI is, because everything we have to communicate from business object type and method, that's it. BAPI or dialog transaction, everything is in backend. Okay, that doesn't need for the people who looking for a BAPI. Okay, I can say looking for a business objects. So this is the one they are actually going to use, especially they want this name. Okay, business object and the method name. So method name is create from data. And the second one, create from data one. So then method name is also changed, create one, and BAPI name is also changed, BAPI PO also create one. And then they here the status is released and there is no warning message here, so we can use it. So the advisor, technically both BAPIs are working in working state, BAPI PO create and create one. Once it is absolute, maybe in future they may remove that particular object from your product. So always the better is, if it is absolute, don't use it. Okay, so BAPI PO create, and just double click, it will take you to the function module layer that you must pretty much aware what is how it look like. So these are the documentation they mentioned here to understand this business object and the method, technically the function module very clearly. Okay, so what is to be transferred and what are the objects, what are the written messages you might get and everything over here. And some examples also here, how what are the things to be passed in the which what do you call parameters, and these are the parameter fields, and these are the values to be passed to achieve or how to use this BAPI. And normally these are we are going to see once you start creating the BAPI. So every parameter has additional parameter called X. Okay, let me show you that. And okay, detail, and double click. So if you see the parameters, there are two parameters and one is end with X. So here you can see PO header X, and not every, a few things. I can say go to the tables, you'll get most. So item X, schedule X, meaning here this parameter holds the value of the particular item details, and this is going to be giving a kind of approval. Yes, I want this to be updated. Sometimes we are giving the values for a supporting one, maybe to try to create it, but basically I don't want to update it again in my database. In that is the case, you don't want to give X to this particular structure. This structure is mostly, if you see any structure end with X, it accepts only one character. So just double click, it will take you. So always is one character. The first one is could be the value of the entire item. Here this is belongs to item, so value of the item, and X indicator. So if you want to delete, you can say if you pass the value to this parameter as X, then only it will perform the delete operation of the item, otherwise it won't. Okay, so suppose short text I want to update, then give it. Sometimes no, I don't want to update, don't give X on this parameter. Okay, so these could be, we are going to see once you start learning about how to pass a value to the BAPIs. Okay, yeah, maybe I can show you something in while testing also, that will be useful to understand. So the understanding is you have two different structures with the same name, and the second one is end with X. Same thing for header also. So header X, and these are the structures. So if you double click, it will take you to SE11 structure detailed. So it's a down level. Okay, so I'm going to just give the pass. It's going to be create a header. So normally I'm not giving any PO number because it could be in the written parameter. So my company code, document type, status, create date, buy, vendors, everything we need to pass to this particular field, relevant field. So then automatically it creates and send the details in a written parameter. So written parameter could be in export or could be in tables. Okay, so sometimes some BAPIs returns only one value, so keep it in the export, or some returns as a multiple level, so we need an internal table. So this is the written parameter. So if you double click, it's a generic way of written parameter. It's not specific to any BAPI. So normally it gives what type of message it is: error, warning, success, and message ID, message number, and the messages you can collect. If it is a PO, they can say PO number got created kind of messages. Okay, so this is one important way of designing the BAPI. So return parameter is mandatory to just receive what is happening inside your BAPI. So if you go and see the source code, it's a basic source code, same select, loop, and everything. This is a standard, so you might see enhancements and all. If it is a custom, you're not able to see these things. So loop statement, and just they are doing some enhancements, and then some subroutines they're just calling it. So nothing big inside the source code of your BAPI. Okay, so now if I try to execute this, I want to test this BAPI, so I'm going to execute this, and you have a test data directory, because maybe for the beginners it's little uh, tough to test a BAPI, because especially to create a document BAPIs, it needs lot of data, or I can say it need a data which supports to create the document. Okay, so to identify the data, it takes some time. So we need to understand how the transaction works. So if you don't have a data, just open an existing document in the transaction level or in the table level, try to find the data. Mostly functional people will help to create a test data for a BAPI. If not, as a technical, you have to identify data to create a sales document or purchase order document, especially for the bigger processor to create some documents in SAP. It needs the relevant data, I can say, instead of lots of data, relevant data is required. That is actually a pain area to identify the data. Okay, once you identify the data, better you save it. It could be used for someone else or for you as well. So here we have some data. Just click, these are just saved by someone else, not me. So here you can see PO header, just click it. It will come some place to add the value. Header is always one, right? So you can have the values. So P1 number is empty because it's generated from the backend and it's coming in the return parameter. So company code and everything. So if you use this option, it's easy to understand, easy to see actually. Company code and document type they pass. Not every value is to be passed, only the relevant information, minimum basic relevant information to create the purchase order. Okay, just come down. So most of the values are blank because BAPI is mostly they give the maximum possibilities. So sometimes the business needs very few informations to create. Sometimes they want, depends on the client, it might vary. So this is designed the generic level. Business object is designed the generic level. So they opt for most of the options. Okay. So continue and go back. This is for header and header X. So which are the fields to be updated? So again, go with this option. So you can see company code to be created, document type created, vendor to be created, and the purchase or purchase group to be created. So for those values, they give an X. Okay, and go back. And minimum informations we need in items. So you know about purchase order, right? To create a purchase order, you need some items. So here you have a lot of options available, but they used only few. Okay, only the items they used. So item, get into that. If you want to enter some values, you can enter here also. So here, PO item, they just start with one. They enter the material number, plant, material group, and the quantity. Okay, continue. And go and see item X. I'm sorry, it's header one. So go a little down. Yeah, item X. And this, I always prefer this view to understand. Item one. So what needs to be updated? Material to be updated, plant to be updated, creator, material group or quantity. Okay, created in the PO. It's not creating a material, just added the material to the purchase order. So nothing much. Okay, so now I'm going to execute it. So remaining everything is 0, yes. And here return is also 0, 0 entries. If I execute it, depends on the BAPI volume, it may take few seconds, not a bigger one, few seconds. Yeah, it's done. Then go and find the return parameter. So though here they mention export parameter, they just given the PO number. So 801 is a PO number and there is two returns here. Just click it. So just try to find the type first. If it is an error, so then it won't create, it won't goods to create a PO, depends on the business call. To understand the message, okay, this is fine, create it, this is not fine, don't create it. So they mentioned PO created, number this, and net price are taken from conditions. Okay, some relevant information for this PO create. Then go back, and if you see this is not created because it just created in the buffer. Okay, so I mentioned, right, commit and rollback is required. So if you go and see ME23N or SE16 EKKO table, this PO not yet updated until the commit to be executed. Okay, so now anyway it's done because I executed without commit, so the number is taken from the number range, is not going to be used, also is going to be wasted number range, and is not updated in the database. Let me show you in the table level. So here you go, EKKO, what is the number? Okay, 4517801. Here, yes, number of entries, and it's 0 because the commit is not performed. So you always, the beginners, you always remember, if you use a BAPI, you need a commit. So once it depends on the return parameter value, you can decide you need a commit or rollback. So how you can achieve in SE37 itself? You don't want to write a program for this because we need to understand fully before you just go and use this BAPI inside your program. So what you can do is just copy this and make sure you have a test data directory, test data, like you saved the data. So now I'm going to, I think I started from here, okay. Function module, the test sequence comes here, executes, here, test sequences. So normally I do, in SE there is one initial screen. So here just enter the BAPI and enter BAPI transaction commit. So here you can say BAPI creates and transaction commit or rollback. So commit, I need a commit because I want to allow the system to enter the purchase order into the database. So just continue. Now go to test directory. So this is a sequence. So sequence, in the sequence, the first BAPI is BAPI PO create one, executed. So it's executed and see the returns. Yes, 802 now. It's previously 801, and I have two entries here. There is no error, so I'm good with to proceed commit. So go back, again go back, it start executing the second BAPI. So BAPI transaction commit. So this is the second in my sequence. So wait, just QX and execute. So it's allowing the system to create whatever entries, relevant entries to the relevant database table, the AKKO, AKPO, and other relevant data tables. So it's done. If you go back, it will ask you, do you want to save the sequence for a future reference? If you want, you can save the sequence. Okay. So PO create sequence. No need to enter both every time, just get it from there. Okay, now go to the table. So 801 anyway it's not available. Let me check both now. 801 and 802, number of entries only one. Okay, because commit should be in the sequence. It's not like, okay, I'm done now, I'm opening another transactions and execute the commit, it won't work. Okay, it should be in the sequence. So execute. So you're able to see the purchase order. So this is a way to test the BAPI before you conclude, yes, this BAPI works for the business requirement. So this is a way, from the technical perspective, we have to conclude this BAPI for the business scenario. Okay. So Anything else to be done? We just have seen SA84, BAPI, executed, tested with commit. Maybe you can check rollback also if you need. If you give a rollback, it won't add. For example, function module executes test sequence, BAPI create one, and BAPI rollback execute. So interchange, okay, it's fine. This data directory, this one, execute. It should create 803 now. And now the sequence, in my sequence, I have rollback options, 803, number range is picked. Go back, now it's BAPI transaction rollback. There is no wait and all, it's fine. Just simply execute. Done, no return. Now again it's asked, do you want to save? I don't want to save this sequence. Now go to your table and you can give 803, number of entries 0. Okay, so rollback is not allow you to create. The other step of rollback is just remove the data which is available in the buffer, just remove it, because unless you don't hold it, right, just roll back whatever it's just not created for your business need. Okay, and one more, maybe the last, I can show you the release status. So go SEHE4 to understand your BAPI, your component or released. Okay, so here business engineering, business object type, 12, execute. So different things you can just try to find your business object. So here just double click the business object type, so you can see the status of your business object is, so here it's object status is released. Okay, and go here and you need to understand your methods also released. So I can say create from data, double click, and here the status is absolute. Okay, and the same here you can find the status is released also. So the create data is not really, it's absolute, it made as absolute. And here if you say data 1 and released, so just to see whether the status of your object type as well as the method is released before you propose this to any non-SAP system. Okay, so I hope this video might useful for you to understand about the design of BAPI. We'll have more videos on this BAPI playlist. Hope this works for you. Thank you so much for your time and see you in the next video. Bye.